So I believe it'll be Yonsu. Let's see.
Yonsu, is it? We'll get that up in a second here.
Oh, Ultrazine.
Oh, okay.
So Ultrazine, a really gigantic map, our biggest map, and you know, it's kind of interesting because some Zergs try to go ground here, but overall you need the mobility. You need mobility, rather, and it feels like Zergs are kind of split. Some of them like to go for mutas here, and some of them like to go and try to do some busts, which I don't like as much, but let's see what Dark has planned. Because a cheesy strat like that, probably not going to work.
I think we're going to have to see Dark just do a more standard style here.
If he wants to cheese, I wouldn't mind seeing Sulky's cheese. I believe it was Sulky who just made like 16 wings off 7 drones and just like sent them because the map's so big and he knew his opponent would go for expansion into a gateway.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's going to do that. I think he's going to play a pretty standard game.
I did like that strat from Sulky.
Yeah, well, it was seeing something like that, you're like, oh my god, this is like, what is this, a computer? Like,
yeah. All right, game number 3 is ready. It is loading right now. And we're going to go into that in a moment here. This is Deer against Dark. The winner goes to the winner's match here in the GSL Code S.
Deer versus Dark.
all right, Tastes.
What's up, Artie?
Well, I think we're just going to have to sit here for a couple minutes and see what roads these guys go down.
Did Twitch beat Pokemon yet?
No.
No? And then farther?
They've done some amazing things, Otasis. Let me give you a little rundown, okay?
Yeah, please.
First off, they finally brought that Helix fossil thingy to life. So now
really?
Yeah. So that's pretty awesome. They caught Zapdos somehow. I don't know how the hell they ended up catching Zapdos, but they did. Which is, like, amazing because, you know, you screw that up and he's gone.
Yeah.
And they released a bunch of their good Pokemon.
Yeah, I've seen that a couple times. I'm like, oh my god, they just dumped 3 Pokemon.
And the funniest thing is, they got stuck. There's like this little area where the Pokemon guys, a lot of people that challenge you, walk towards you to challenge you, and they got stuck in this little crevice.
Oh, really?
Where they were actually stuck for a long time because they had to wait until they hit enough random encountered Pokemon that all of their Pokemon passed out. That was the only way to get out.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Absolute madness.
That's so epic.
Yeah.
I was there when they put in the democracy feature.
Yeah.
And then the Twitch started rioting. And then now
Anarchy or riot.
There's a meter now where you either write democracy or anarchy, and the meter has to get too close up to democracy, where then turns back into a democracy again, where everybody's voting. So it's interesting because that way, if you do get stuck and everybody actually does have to cooperate, then it can happen. But once you get out of that, then people vote back down into anarchy. It
is like perhaps the most interesting social experiment of our time, Tasteless.
I have to say, I think it is.
I am so smitten by Twitch Plays Pokemon.
I thought Salty Bet was going to be it, but apparently not.
No, Salty Bet's really cool, but this is like another level.
This is another level of coolness.
I was talking to Frodan about it. He said the funniest thing that I just totally love. He said when they beat that game, that is going to be like the moon landing on the internet.
Oh yeah, actually,
the moon landing equivalent of
no,
the
I mean,
internet.
like, I want to be there. I want to be there to see it get beaten.
Oh yeah. No, I don't care if I'm sitting here casting. I will have my phone on, like watching that stream and commentating that during GSL Code S if that's when that happens.
Yes. I wonder what other games they're going to do that with.
I don't know. Everyone's doing it with everything now.
I saw somebody was doing it with Hearthstone.
Yeah, and I think Pig was doing it with StarCraft.
So
the Twitch chat can finally see just how wrong many of their thoughts are.
How much they don't know.
Yeah. But let's take a look at this game now. This is a very greedy opening, of course, by both sides. Double hatch before pool from Dark, and of course the fast expand into Gateway into Stargate here from Deer. So both of them really, really powering up heavily.
We do have a very big map on our hands here, which Zergs just love. but, you know, the Protosses, the way they've been doing it now with some of their, you go in for the Sky Protoss, it's been pretty effective, too.
Yeah, you know, I feel like the further you get into a game on this map of PvZ, the more you have to, like, really focus on the air units as Protoss. Just because, like, again, I feel like a game that really emphasizes how this map oftentimes has to be played would be San versus Life, where, like, San went ahead and eventually just made 5 Stargates and got all the air upgrades because he knew eventually there's going to be 40 mutas flying towards his base. So, you know, it's, I don't know, I quite enjoy watching PvZs here, though, to be honest. It's just, I love seeing what the Zerg chooses and when the tech switches occur, and I love how hard it is for each player to kill the other one. It's like you have to walk a very thin line on how you do your attacks.
Here we have the Oracle coming out now. Let's see how much damage this can do. Usually gets you know, 1 or 2 drones. It's going to go right over this with our 2 queens, and so far not too bad.
Yeah, it's
4
okay.
kills. I thought it was going to get a little bit less actually, considering. But and the second Oracle is coming in here as well.
I do like that he chose to get 2 Oracles. Ooh, I don't like that he lost one. That's not good. But I see that rubble on the floor. But yeah, I like that he's gotten 2 Oracles. That's really nice because, you know, the map is so big you can do something extra greedy like make a second Oracle, whereas, you know, normally you have to go right into Void Ray production, grab a Void Ray or 2 to make sure you don't just die to an attack. But he's actually even skipping the Void Rays, just adding some gates, getting that 3rd base, starting his upgrades. I love Greed, Tasteless. Greed is awesome.
Good.
Yeah.
It's my favorite of the 7 deadly sins. that along with Sloth is
yes. Yes.
Does it for me.
Well, I want greed. I have to be greedy so that one day I can be a sloth.
That's the whole point, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Be greedy now so you can sloth later.
Exactly. Exactly.
So the we're just gonna come up here now. We got a serious gateway explosion happening right now.
Yeah.
So it looks like he wants to do a timing here and try to punish the Zerg for being too greedy.
This is kind of like some old builds that Deer used to use. It looks like he's going to go +2 blink behind this. Yeah. And this is like something that he was doing last year where he likes to open with an Oracle into a 3rd base into +2 and blink, but he's cut the Void Rays out to get into those gateway units a little bit quicker. And it makes sense because on a map like this, the Void Rays aren't going to be as useful because Zerg attacks aren't going to be just walking right across as quickly. A lot of times Zerg is just going to sit in their base and kind of macro up and get their economy going more.
Yeah, I'm wondering how effective this is going to be because I was actually expecting Deer to not necessarily go for something like this. I was expecting to have the more passive tech into, you know, heavy air here. But let's see if it catches them off guard. I mean, they're not in cross spots. That's one thing to keep in mind. It is still a pretty long travel distance, but that does make a small difference here. So now we see 18 Lings and 8 Roaches coming up here. The Spire's halfway done. It looks like in the midst of the attack, the 1-1 upgrades for the Zerg will be done.
And, saves the probe. Okay, that's really, really good. He needed that probe, obviously, to make a pylon to actually start warping in, because this other one was found. But he's got to be careful here because there's a lot of Lings out there, and as speed and 1-1 finishes up, he's not going to have enough force fields for everything.
Man, the angling here from these Lings is going to be pretty good. And he's getting a lot of the sentries here. I believe he's killed 3 already. Actually, the angling's really good here. And I think that Dark has just completely beaten back this attack.
You know, the force fields were really quite nice by Deer and everything, but you know, this is something that can happen where Zerg gets that many Zerglings out, you can't be standing out in the middle, but he has some warp and reinforcements. He has that blink now.
He wasn't able to get the pylon either, so Deer's attack can continue onward.
It certainly can, and he might get to that level of Stalkers where you just have so many, it's really hard to stop, but right now we do have Dark just making as many use as possible. The area with all the creep, that's going to be very hard for him to continue an attack on.
Okay, Zerg now pushing forward here, but the blink micro from Deer is very good, and once again, pushing it back away to the pylon here. The creep is beginning to dissipate now that those tumors have been removed.
You know, at this moment, we actually see that there is not enough larvae. He never ended up getting a macro hatch. He's just trying to expand instead of making any sort of macro hatch. So this is kind of a problem. He doesn't have enough larvae to really spend all his money. If he could spend every mineral he has, he would hold this attack quite quickly.
Yeah, you make a very good point. The lack of that macro hatch means he doesn't really have the engine there to crank out the proper number of units.
Well, Deer are going to continue to push forward a bit. You know, I don't know if this is going to be much more longer lived.
Yeah.
It feels like at this point there's going to be enough Lings with enough upgrades backing up those Roaches that I don't know that Deer can actually finish him off, especially if that hatch finishes.
Yeah. Well, Deer's going to come down now over here. Looks like he was debating going through the brush there, but he's going to send one Stalker to just peek in and actually blink forward there to get some scouting done. Excuse me.
Well, he saw that infestation pit, so he immediately throws down a Robo at home. Really good move there. And now we have 12 Mutas on the way, Tasteless. So it looks like the Skytech will begin, and that means that Deer either has to, like, well, if he goes all in here, then he's just going to die, but he has to go back and actually start defending.
And this is where Zerg's going to get complete total reign of the map. And one nice thing about the Mutas in a situation where it's Sky versus Sky, Muta is kind of a solve-all unit.
Yeah.
It's fast. It can hit air and ground.
It heals crazily.
Yeah, it's got the glaives that bounce, so it just does a lot of damage to an area at once. So this is going to be tricky here.
Yeah.
For Deer from here. And this is one of the reasons why doing these timing attacks like this from that we see the Protoss doing here is not as popular on this map.
Now notice Dark looks like he wants to actually hit the third at the same time as well.
Well, it's smart because Deer's army is almost entirely Stalkers, so a lot of those Stalkers probably just be pulled into the main like we see here, in which case it's Roaches and Lings. Oh god, this is a massacre over here, man.
A lot of free kills here for
not
Dark.
even using the sentries there.
Well, he does warp in a big line of Zealots to try to hold off. And it looks like he'll hold his third for now.
Yep, Nexus Cannon activated. That's annoying. The Overlord now dropping creep over there.
Yeah, but you know what? As long as Dark continues to macro up, maybe pushes his creep a little bit further, he's going to be in good shape because he's going to have 2-2. Yeah, Deer's going to have +3 attack, but I feel like this army just, where's the splash damage at?
Right.
He's teched up to Colossus, but he hasn't purchased any. And in fact, he's got to be kind of careful of what he spends his gas on. And in fact, he's decided to go Phoenixes, which means this game is going to be a lot longer.
And we see the Warp Prism coming up here. This might be denied right over the where it can't even unload. And this is a quick, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. By the way, Zerg's got a lot of money here.
Indeed. A lot of money. He's,
sick commentary by Tastes there. I'm like, by the way, Zerg's got a lot of money here.
Yeah, look at all that.
Look at all that.
But it's okay because he's maxed out, so that doesn't mean he has bad macro.
Let's going to spend that money on Kappa. I was using Kappa in my cast the last time with Wolf.
Were you?
Yeah, man.
That's good. Right now we do have
Roaches, Kappa. I could do this from my home and my computer. Okay, so he's coming forward now with a lot of Roaches and the Infestors here. Some force fields are coming up now. Actually, really nice force fields. Some of those Roaches only do funnel through. It looks like he's going to get some pickups here. But the Mutas, meanwhile, over here where the army is not for the Protoss, is taking out a lot of probes.
Yeah, and look at that. Even killing off Stalkers here is very nice. Just attacks everywhere. 38 workers killed, and even more being killed at the moment. And even though they're cleaning up this army at the front, it's done a good amount of damage.
I think this is enough to count as a fatal blow here.
Yeah.
For Deer, I mean, the amount of workers he's down on that. It's 27 workers to 78. Yeah, and the Phoenixes aren't being microed. And half of these workers aren't even mining because they're being transferred from base to base. We have a parade of Lings now coming out.
Well, you know what I really love Tasteless is he knows his opponent's going for a lot of Phoenixes, so he's just switching into Ultras because, well, Phoenixes don't do so well against Ultras.
No, not so much.
And when he attacks with Ultras against an army of Zealots and Stalkers, well, that's not going to go well either, is it?
Looks like the Nexus should be cleaned up over here. And GG.
Dark advances into the winner match.
Dark beat Deer, Craig Aston.
Well,
wow.
Yes, Dark beat Deer. No headlights this time, Tasteless.
No, no. You want to maybe name himself Dark because he is the headlights. Ooh. That's actually how he tricks you.
Yeah.
Last thing you think about is headlights, and you have the ID Dark, but there was Deer caught in Dark's headlights.
Indeed. Well, you know what, Deer, I feel like he didn't, I don't know, I don't like a lot of these strategies that people use where they're actually moving out against Zerg. Like, the map is so big, they have so much time to react and make units, and they have so much creep when you get there. It feels like the defense is always going to occur, and they're always going to hold.
I do think a lot of that did come down to that really good surround. Early on, where the Lings actually got around the sentries, there were not enough force fields there.
Yeah, definitely.
I think if the sentries had survived, it would have been a different story, but I don't know. I don't know if that's the right strategy to use on that map.
Yeah, maybe he attacked just a little bit too fast with that. Maybe if he had had another round of units warped in, then he wouldn't have lost those sentries. But, you know, when you lose all those units like that, you're probably going to die to Zerg.
Well, Deer's not out of this yet. He could still get through the group. It's just going to be a little bit tougher. We're going to go on to our next best of 3 after this short break here at the GSL Code S.